Hey, Gen Mex, welcome to Casa Las Flores here in El Centenario outside La Paz. I'm going to introduce you to Andi in just a few minutes, but she has invited us into her gorgeous home here. It's in Lomas de Centenario, which is a great development, very colorful, beautiful, on the hills of Centenario, overlooking La Paz, overlooking where I live down near the water. So La Paz is a gorgeous place. This neighborhood's a gorgeous place. This house is a gorgeous place. Andi is a gorgeous person. So we're going to have a great interview today. But what we're going to do is start where I like to start the story, which is at the beginning of the story. So I'm going to let Andi choose where the beginning of the story is. And you know what? I'm not going to let her choose. I'm going to tell her where to start. And that is back in the 1970s. Because one thing I've learned through doing these interviews is the people who do best in Mexico are the adventurous type. So I want her to tell you a little bit about her life adventure. And then we're going to talk about the different restarts that she had here in Mexico. So let's meet Andi.
In the late 70s, my husband had the opportunity to move for us to move to Peru, to Lima, Peru, to be there for about 5 years in the office of his company there. So first we had to almost look at the map to figure out exactly where we were going. People would say to us, "Oh, you're going to have such great tacos." And we're like, "No, this isn't Mexico. It's a bit south." So we had to learn new foods and certainly the language. And at the time that we moved to Peru, they had very few foreigners actually living there at the time. So very few places spoke English or people spoke English. So it was imperative that we learned Spanish as quickly as we could. So we did have private lessons to learn that, which was made for a much, more pleasant experience. So after that, we were transferred back to the U.S. for a couple of years, moved to Atlanta. And never been there before, but we were in Atlanta for a little over 3 years. And then we were transferred to Saudi Arabia. Big change. Very big change. We were in Peru for 5 years, so Atlanta for 3. Then we went to Saudi Arabia. Fortunately, only 2.5 years there. That was a long stint in a place that was such a lack of freedom, especially for women. But then we moved from Saudi to Hong Kong. It's like 180 from where we were. And we were in Hong Kong for 5 years. And then we got transferred to Mexico City. So then we were in Mexico City for several years. And then the company was getting ready to sell. And so we moved back to New York, and we're living in Connecticut, and decided that Atlanta was more the place that we wanted to restart again. My husband then wanted to, begin working for a different company. Decided he had more business contacts in Atlanta, more recent business contacts. So that's where we went but while we were in Mexico, we had traveled around a lot, and having lived all the places we knew that we would want to probably retire somewhere outside of the U.S. in some place. And our decision was Mexico was probably a good choice because it's drivable from the U.S. People wouldn't have to fly to visit us or family or friends. And so while we were in Mexico City, we did a lot of looking around in different parts of the country and decided that La Paz was where we thought we'd be the happiest, weather-wise, location-wise, all of those kinds of things. And so we were excited about it because this was actually the only time we lived somewhere that it had actually been where we chose to live. We weren't there for business purposes. It wasn't because that's where we were born or the family moved there or something like that. So this was a real choice that we made, and I'm very happy that we did.
Well, of course, I agree that La Paz is the best place in Mexico. It's a little bit hot in the summer. Of course, I say that in jest because there are so many wonderful places in Mexico. And the question is, which was the perfect one for you? If you've been dreaming about moving to Mexico, maybe La Paz, maybe somewhere else, the best thing you can do right now is to get your game plan together. And that's exactly what the Complete Mexico Relocation Guide helps you do. And they're sponsoring this video. It's not just a list of tips or YouTube videos like this one. It's a complete online course created by experts who have actually helped thousands of people move to Mexico successfully. Inside, you'll find everything you need to know about about the process, like how to get residency, how to get honest rentals, what to expect with healthcare, how to bring your pets or your car, banking, healthcare in Mexico, and transportation. It even covers the details most people forget about, like getting an RFC, transferring money safely, or buying a car as a foreigner, and how to avoid common scams. But the best part, you also get access to their private directory of vetted contacts all over Mexico. These are real people who can actually help you get things done, like applying for residency, buying a car, setting up utilities, or even finding the right neighborhood. And because the guide is always being updated, you don't have to worry about outdated information or bad advice from random Facebook groups. You can log in anytime from anywhere and have the most reliable, step-by-step guidance ready when you need it. So if you've been spending hours searching Facebook groups or watching random videos trying to piece it all together, you don't have to. The Mexico Relocation Guide will give you everything you need in one reliable place, organized and easy to follow. It's like having a local friend walk you through the entire process, start to finish. They have hundreds of positive reviews and have helped thousands move to Mexico, so check them out. There's a link down below. And now let's get back to Andi and her story of moving to La Paz, buying this place, and moving in. And of course, we are going to do a tour of this place. And it's going to be a detailed tour. I promise you that. So watch for that later on in the video.
Actually, as we were deciding, where in Mexico we wanted to live, and we knew that didn't want a place that was super humid, which was a problem in a lot of coastal areas. For us anyway. I don't mind humidity for a couple of weeks on vacation, but I knew I didn't want to live permanently. Since our goal was that we would live here permanently, for me particularly, I didn't want to live in a very humid area. So with a family of divers, both my daughter and son are avid scuba divers, as was my husband. So La Paz seemed to kind of fit the bill in that. It was a great location on the Sea of Cortez and whatnot. Well, as it turned out, my son and his wife were able to come here a few months before my husband and I did. And so as he got here, he said, "Oh, Dad, you and Mom are going to love this place. It's just perfect. You'll love it." So a few months later, we make our trips plan to come down here. And sure enough, at the end of the first week, we ended up buying a house. Now, probably we bought it as quickly as we did because we do speak the language. We lived in Mexico before. We'd gone through a lot of those kind of cultural adaptation issues. But it just seemed it was such a perfect fit for us. It was just exactly what we were hoping to find. And then that's what we did. So we bought the house, knew that since I hadn't retired yet, we weren't going to be able to live permanently in it for the next 2 to 3 years. So we set it up so that furnished it so that we could rent it on short-term rentals we used VRBO, but there are a lot of them. And had really good experience with that. People coming in and learning to love La Paz as well. And then at the beginning of 2016, we were able to live here permanently. So the process of buying the house, you asked about that, was kind of a fluke that we found the house and found the builder we bought directly from the builder.
Okay, let me break in here just because I want to get a little clarification on the story here, because they bought it from the builder, which was Ed Rose, and he lives around the corner from me down in El Centenario, and he built all these gorgeous houses up here. But these guys weren't the first people to occupy the house or the first people to try to occupy the house. So let's get into those details.
Just to back up just a little bit, when we came out to El Centenario, when I had seen things online of houses that we liked, so forth and so on, and we wanted to see that. We just happened to see Ed Rose's office, went in and thought, well, we'd talk to him and see what he could show us what he had. So he did take us up to a home that he had that was kind of a model. And we instantly fell in love with it, but decided that maybe we would look for something a little bit different than that. So as we're looking around, he told us, I have this one house that I've just had to take back from the people who originally bought it, but through illness and whatnot, they hadn't been able to, I think they still owed him money on it and whatnot. So he took it back and he said that he would sell it. And so all of a sudden, that's what was for sale. Well, as soon as we turned the corner in front of this house, it's like, oh my gosh, that's the that's exactly what we've been looking at online. I mean, it was like meant to be. And so we came in and looked at it. And one of the things you'll see in the tour is it's pretty colorful inside. And my ceilings are orange. Orange was not a favorite color of mine. And so my first thought was, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle the orange ceilings, but everything else was just perfect. Well, 2 days later, I decided orange was like my favorite color, and that was what I wanted everything. And it was so funny, but it just was perfect in the style of the home and whatnot. So, but it at that point, the house had just one bedroom and one bath. And so a couple of years later, when we decided that we were ready to come down and live here permanently, that's when we added the second bedroom and second bath and did some changes in the back for a large patio, enabling us to have big patios in front and back, which adds a lot to the livability of the house.
So I understand that a couple of years after she moved in, there was some tragedy that struck.
Yes. After we had been just living in the house, I guess about 13 months, my husband had an accident and as a result of that, died. But we had decided when we bought the house originally that knowing that obviously so at some point, one of us were going to die, right? That we would stay living in the house. We both felt that this is where we wanted to be. We felt comfortable being in Mexico. We felt comfortable with the language, and also there was never a thought on my part at that point that am I going to leave the house? It's no. I was going to make my life here. I was starting a business at that time, and with a very supportive community and lots of great friends that I was developing, that it turned out to be a great experience.
So it's really important to have those friends here, to have that network, to have those connections when something bad happens, when someone's in the hospital or when someone is dying. I've actually got a video about that. I'll have a link at the end of this video about the 3 things that you need to do to get ready to prepare for your own demise here in Mexico. If you're living here, I like to say if you're going to spend the rest of your life in Mexico, you're going to die here. So you got to get prepared. And so I've got a video with 3 things you can do to start that process. But let's go back now to continue the story. Bruce has passed away at this point, and Andi's living here on her own, collecting some dogs and whatnot. But let's get on to the story of collecting another human.
It was about a year and a half or so after Bruce had passed away, and I decided, well, it would be nice to meet somebody. I felt like the time was kind of right to do that. So one of my friends happened to be another realtor here who told me that when her husband passed away, the best thing for her was to go online. And so she said, I think that's what you need to do. Go online and you'll meet somebody. And so, I knew nothing about online and hadn't even been on a date since I was 18, since I'd been married almost 50 years at this point. Sure enough, though, I went online and I decided that if I was I couldn't just go online and look. You had to sign up. So I thought, well, I guess if I'm going to sign up, then I'm going to go through the whole process, right? So I did write in my profile that I do live in La Paz. I was hoping to meet somebody who liked travel, who would be happy to be out of the country part of the time. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. I was looking for companionship. I wasn't necessarily thinking about marriage or a long-term relationship, but I certainly had nothing against that option either. So luckily, a few months later, I did meet Steve online. And it was quite a funny thing because he had obviously read my profile, but somehow the fact that I was in La Paz didn't exactly click. He read La Paz, but not that I was living in La Paz. What I also didn't know is that because I used a mail service for my mail down here, I had that address at my bank connected to my credit card. So when I paid to sign up for this service and gave them the credit card number, they posted the fact that I was in San Diego on the posting. I didn't see that. I didn't know that. So Steve thinks he's meeting somebody who lives in San Diego. And I had also decided that because this whole thing was new to me, that maybe maybe I shouldn't put my own name out there. I should have a different name. And so a good friend of ours here had said to me in a previous scenario like that, he said, well, if you're going to use another name, it should at least have Gabby in it, since I obviously like to talk a lot. And so that I thought, oh, that's it. I'll be Gabby. So I'm Gabby from San Diego that Steve thinks he's meeting. I didn't really realize, I think I'd clarified the San Diego part, but I hadn't said anything about my name not being Gabby right at first. But about 3 weeks into our contact with each other and communication, we decided that maybe we should use our regular email rather than continue to communicate on the systems, on the dating site system. So now I realize, like, now he's going to know that my name's not Gabby. And so now I'm Andi in La Paz, not Gabby in San Diego, but trying to assure him that everything else I said was true. So it was quite funny. But anyway, some of his friends were like, I know it. She must be with the cartel or something like that. Something's going to happen to you. He's like, no, that's not it. But anyway, so long story short, that was 7 years ago, and we're together and have a great time. Loving life and loving La Paz.
So these guys live here full time now in La Paz and in this beautiful home, which is what I'm going to give you a tour of now.
So you'll see when you walk up the walkway to the house. You'll come first to a very large patio. It's our patio in the front of the house, which we find to be a really great part of our life. We spend a lot of time out there, which is one of the great things about La Paz, that the patios and all are things that you can use all year long. So it makes it very enjoyable and adds a lot of space to the house. But when you come in, you'll see that in our living room area, we've got things from all over the place. I had some cabinetry made in order to be able to house the different things we'd collected, the collectibles that we wanted to display. And you'll see there's some shelving and things that I had made here. And I was able to do that because as we planned to make our final move down here, we were able to downsize and bring with us the pieces that we thought were the most important to us or most special to us for some reason. And so I knew the amount of space we had, knew how much I had to find, either sell or give to somebody else, and then figure out a way to display the things that we were going to bring, because obviously only so much furniture that you can put in the space that, and I already had the house furnished for renters. Even though we were changing some of that furniture, it still wasn't going to be much more than it was. So it was fun being able to design some of these things and have a carpenter make what we were looking for. A lot of the things in the house actually are not the way it was when we bought it, but are things that we added or had this carpenter make. He did just fabulous things. And as we walk through the house, you'll see more of that. But right here in the living room, there's almost looks like an entertainment center, kind of the way since we had a table with a TV on it and I had the shelving built all around it, but we're able to display things that we collected in different parts of the world that we wanted to display. And Steve also did a lot of travel in his lifetime. So we've been able to blend that now with things that are special things for him. And that's true also of the artwork on the walls that you'll see, that there's some blending of that too. Things that I brought, but things that he's brought, so that we make it our house. And we're excited about how it's kind of a neat blending of all that together. So in the dining area right behind me, you'll notice lots of Japanese art. Those are all things that were part of Steve's collection. Interestingly enough, we both always have been really big into Asian furniture and art and whatnot. So one of the many things that made us such a perfect pair. But anyway, you'll see some of the art in there that was stuff that we've brought from his home. One of the great things about the house is the ceilings are very high. It's 12 to, in some places, are 14 feet as high in some others. So we're able to put art a lot higher up the wall, which has enabled us to to accommodate art pieces that I had in the house already, and then what things that we wanted to bring from his collection. So it was really fun blending all that stuff together and figuring out how we were going to pull that all together. So, but I'm kind of happy with the way it ended up. Kitchen area is small. Probably the one thing, if I could redo, or if we had built the house ourselves from scratch, maybe would have made it larger. The builder in subsequent versions of the same house has made the kitchen larger than it is in our house. But, like anything, you find ways to work with it. The good news about it is very efficient. And right outside of it, I was able to have, again, the same carpenter build some things, a big pantry for me and that kind of thing, that's made the kitchen space much more usable. And a lot of those things that some friends of mine bought houses down here after that too, and have had the same kinds of things made because it's just works so well in the house that way. Our bathroom it's right off the hallway there, going from the kitchen into the master bedroom. And I kind of like that it's not part of the bedroom per se. It's right outside of the bedroom. But in some of the houses where there are 2 bathrooms, but each bathroom is inside a bedroom, therefore people have to walk into one of the bedrooms in order to use a bathroom. So for me, it was nice to have it kind of outside. It's quite large since we opted to not have a tub, since we're shower people. So I guess as you go through the house, you'll see that there's some large vanity area and that kind of thing that makes the bathroom quite nice. And then into our bedroom, it's a good sized bedroom. And I guess the same carpenter that I had make a lot of these other pieces that I'm describing also made bedroom furniture. So we had a closet in there, but we needed more space. So we started with building one armoire and then another one, and then finally deciding, well, we needed a dresser now between the two, which you'll see in the video. So that's the same carpenter made. Also, the closet that was in there came up normal height, maybe 8 feet or something like that. But we still had like 4 feet above it or more that was just open space. And so I noticed, there was no way to utilize that neat and make it look neat. I mean, there are only so many big baskets you can buy to house stuff. If you want to keep pillows or stuff like that, there wasn't any place that was enclosed. So I asked the same carpenter to build closets, doors, design them so that it fits right in with the molding that's around the ceiling. It's pretty incredible what he was able to do. And then off that bedroom is our pool. And originally the whole pool area was enclosed, and there was no way out to the backyard from the pool area. So that if you had people over and you wanted to have somebody else go in the pool with you, the only way to get to it was to go through our bedroom. So when we added the second bedroom and bath, we also cut into that wall from the outside patio so that we can be on the patio and walk into the pool from there. You don't have to come in the house and go through the bedroom and all of that. It's not a big pool, but we really enjoy it. And if you're not looking to swim laps, it's very good. It's nice for cooling off. It's nice for, I used to do a lot of my Pilates exercises in it. So, it fit the bill in terms of what we were looking for. So you'll see that too. So in the process of adding the second bedroom and changing there was a window in the living room, but no door to the backyard. It was kind of interesting. The only way to get to the back was to go out the front door and walk around the house. And so the window that was in the living room I had taken out and a door put in that opens out to the back patio, as well as, of course, there's a door to the patio from the second bedroom that was built. But anyway, this one in the living room is the main entrance for it. And it enabled us to have another huge patio in the back. I mean, I think the two patios together probably are the same square footage as the house itself. They're each, like 45 something, 50 feet long, and quite wide. And so with livable furnished areas and table and barbecue area and all sorts of stuff outside that have made it, really, really a fun house. We enjoy it a lot. And if you like to entertain, there's space for that too. So not a lot of kitchen space, but everything else. The living room, there is the second bedroom and bath that I talked about us constructing after, once we moved down here permanently. So, and they're ample sized bedrooms. They can easily hold king size beds and that kind of thing.
Well, I'm sure you agree that this is a gorgeous house. All these houses up here in Lomas de Centenario, they're really my style. They're my style. They're cat style. They're colorful. They're very Mexican. They feel really good. But we're about to wrap up the video, and you guys know that I like to wrap up with a tip. So something about restarting life, or something about kind of the continuum of life into your time in Mexico. So let's see what Andi has for us.
I would say one of the most important things is, first of all, to do some good research on the area. And if you haven't been to an area that you're contemplating, like to Mexico, come and spend some time, rent something for a little while first before you decide exactly where you want to buy. Because sometimes things can seem, the way something seems on vacation and the way something might be to live in it for a while can be so different. So strongly encourage anybody who's considering it to spend some time in the area that you think you are interested in first. But also, no matter where it is in Mexico, learning the language is so beneficial. Not that there aren't people who can speak English and you can find resources and you can figure out your way to get through. But there's a lot of life that you miss, and a lot of the cultural experience that you miss by not being able to speak the language. And I think Steve can speak to that too, as he sees how different it is when I can engage whomever in a conversation. You can joke a little bit, you can do different things, and it just makes the whole experience so much easier. And, you find, I don't know, it just makes a huge difference. I remember when we first moved to Peru and I was starting to learn Spanish, I was at a Christmas event, and I was sitting across from a woman who'd been there. I'd only been there 3 weeks or something at this point, and she'd been there for 5 months. And I'm excited about my Spanish classes, and she wasn't taking any. And she said to me, well, I just look at this as a 2-year prison sentence, because she knew her husband was only going to be there for 2 years. And I thought, what a shame, that this is such a country that was so rich in so many things. And she was going to lose out so much by not being able not to speak the language. So learning it. And then the other tip about that is don't be afraid to make a mistake. I hear from people all the time that say, well, I'm learning it, but, I don't think I speak it well enough to say anything. And I know I'm going to make a mistake. Just know you will make a mistake. I made a lot of them, but that's the only way to get through. And, you learn from the mistake, but you also, nobody's going to hold it against you. They enjoy the mistake with you and laugh with you with whatever you've said. And you go on, but not speaking the language is a huge problem.
I think really the way I would put it is it's an opportunity lost. There's so much you can do. Actually, I just this week had my first laugh with a Mexican person who was speaking in Spanish. And I was like, oh my God, she told a joke and I understood it. So we were able to kind of share that moment. So it definitely helps. And it's something, it's totally a continuum. When you start learning, every time you get to learn something new, you just understand just a little bit more and can understand more about the culture. Speaking of understanding more about the culture, about life down here, you can check out, I've got videos up here from other foreigners who are making it happen. And just like I promised, down here is that video with 3 tips for getting ready for your demise in Mexico. So if you're ready for that, check that one out. And I will see you in another video from Lomas de Centenario, La Paz, Mexico. Wish you were here. Hasta luego.